gentlemen, yeah, it's another motherfucking Tuesday, so it's time for the PD Skillz Show. This week, it's another great episode. We've got fellow podcaster and Ontario independent wrestler Rex the Boot Atkins. What's going on, brother?
Not much. Not a lot of wrestling on that. You call me a wrestler, but I don't know if I am anymore.
Well, I mean, you were almost of front yard fighting fame.
Oh,
Almost.
I'm so pissed about that still. I was actually looking forward to it. I'm like, yeah, I got a real booking.
Yeah.
All right.
So for those of you that listen to the show that don't know the history, which is probably few and far between, Pretty Ricky Wilde said he was going to go to Rex's house and beat his ass, set the date, put a lot of promotional hype behind it, and it never happened. And I was sad, and I think a lot of people were sad about that. And I didn't actually did you watch the death match through that they did instead?
Yeah, I watched it. A little I don't know if I'm supposed to kayfabe this or not, but Ricky showed up at my house.
No, I know. Yeah, you said it on. Yeah. You actually said it on the show, so you're good.
Oh, did I? Okay, I already broke kayfabe. Okay, yeah. So yeah, he showed up at the house, and as soon as he showed up, he was with his girlfriend. I scared the shit out of him when I opened his door because he didn't know I was there, and he was holding like a toy gun, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then he got out, and we had like a nice little conversation with him and his girlfriend, and they just came down basically to say hello. And I said, "So you got something pre-taped?" He goes, "Yeah, I got a pre-taped thing." I was like, "Okay." And then yeah, it was the death match. So I went inside and I actually watched it right then, and I thought it was great. It was great. It was funny.
I enjoyed it. That's the only watching it because I watched it live. I wanted to hate it because I was hoping for a scrap.
Yeah.
Not even if it was I was hoping for a scrap. I was hoping for something live. It was just something live. I didn't care what the fuck happened after 4:30 hit.
Yeah.
4:32.
I will say it is difficult to do, especially if I think you need, I don't know how many subscribers you need to do a live stream with mobile, but it's probably quite a bit. And I know it's difficult to do a live stream fight. You know what I mean? And so even if we did pre-tape something, I think it still would have looked better if we actually did something and gave people what we were promising for so long, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Could have came back with another new gimmick. You could have been the front yard dog.
Yeah, the front yard dog. That's terrible. Oh man, I just come out with lawn gnomes and
fuck. So that whole thing that started with because you were doing the Blackballed podcast for a little bit after you did your show. What you talking about, right?
Yeah, I was doing them simultaneously, and then I also started Good Brother Morning at the same time. So that's kind of what led to me leaving their show, because I was doing mine solo as well as theirs. Good Brother Morning. It was all my schedule was just insane. Yeah. So I just told him dude, I'm too busy. This is almost becoming a really, and I don't want to show up because I like those guys and they're my friends, but I don't want to show up every week begrudgingly. And it was starting to get to the point where I was just sitting through it because I wasn't prepared. I just wasn't in the mood.
Well, sometimes those guys though, when they get going, it's automatic. They're like machine guns, right?
Yeah. Okay. Machine guns that go pew pew. But yeah, it's it's like every time I finished doing their show, I was emotionally drained, and it wasn't because of it's hard to explain. It was just every week for a couple. It seemed like every week I was fighting with this mentally disabled dude that got shot in the head. And it was I don't know if I need to be fighting with this guy from New York who says he's going to come to my house and kill me now because I disrespected him.
So basically the vibe wasn't right for you.
No, it was just getting the reoccurring bit was always let's, throw something at Rex and see how he reacts. And it was getting to the point where it almost seemed like I was always the center of attention when I wanted to be part of an ensemble instead of them always trying to see what I'm going to do, and even when it was just the three of us, it always seemed like they were constantly talking to me and not to each other. So it was I don't know, it's being interviewed every week, but by, goofballs.
Oh man. So now you're I know you're doing Good Brother Morning now, and are you still doing your own?
So no, I went on hiatus with that one. Okay. Again, with the schedule, it was just crazy because I've been doing other stuff like this, hopping on other people's stuff. I've been doing the Twitch stream with Kingdom every week on Thursdays, playing poker, and Now I know like Greed's doing the backyard thing. I hopped on there this week, and just little things here and there are popping up. So it's a lot. So I'm just trying to.
I mean, Good Brother Mornings, Monday through Friday shows. So I mean, that's a lot of recording.
And it's 5 guests, usually sometimes more a week.
Yeah.
So booking people, it's like, why add to the stress and have another show I have to book someone for? So right now it's just Good Brother Morning. You never know, I might start doing that one again, but for now my focus is completely.
Yeah, but they said they seem like 2 completely different shows, so which is good. Yeah. They had different vibes to them.
The funny thing about that is, like, when I first wanted to start a podcast, the whole idea, like everything that I wanted to do was a multi-person podcast where we all shoot the shit and it's just busting each other's balls and being politically incorrect and saying the most horrific things. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be that Opie and Anthony. Actually, you know what? Scotty O'Shea today said it when he posted the episode he was on. He said Ontario's version of Opie and Anthony, which I know he just said that as like, like in passing. But to me, that was the biggest compliment ever, because that's exactly the model we were going for.
Yeah, and that was today's episode, correct?
Yeah, that was today.
Well, / last week's.
Yeah, Friday, whatever, May 28th.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I started getting the equipment and getting everything set up, that's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to do it with my fat fuck friends and the same guys I did the fat fuck weight loss challenge with. And of course, they're all my best friends. They're all local. They could all be at my house doing it. And of course, they're the hardest ones to book. Notice none of them are ever on the podcast. For some reason, the people you're closest with are the worst people to try to do things with.
But I mean, the people that are these other people that are in wrestling though?
Some, yeah. It's it would be myself, Robbie Reckless, Jesse Bieber, another guy who used to wrestle Joey Paradise, another guy that used to wrestle Matt Goff, and then my best friend, Lumberjack Will Irvin. He's not a wrestler. He's just been around the business for years.
Okay.
But yeah, so we wanted to start it with them. Never seemed to work out. So I just started doing my own, like kind of again, like a fuck you to them. Like, all right, I'll just do my own thing. I already bought the shit. I'm going to do it. And then as I went on, I noticed like, I don't mind doing the one-on-one podcast interview style, but I'm not great at it. Like I always want to go for the funny rather than being like an interview guy.
Yeah.
And then I started having that same show and I had my friends on it, or I had multiple guests at a time. And it started just turning into that. Like there's a couple episodes of What You Talking Boot that are actually really Good Brother Morning. If you look at them, like the one I remember, Jeff Black, Lenny Lilac, and Joe Doc.
Yeah. Didn't you guys use that as a Friday throwback?
Yeah. And that basically was like the pilot for Good Brother Morning. So once that started happening and Joe Dog and I were talking more, and Eric was ready to start a podcast. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. Like start our own morning show thing. And then we ended up with the show I wanted in the first place. So it worked out.
Now for the people who only got a 10-minute attention span, where can you find Good Brother Morning?
So Good Brother Morning, if you just look us up on like any podcast app, you just type in Good Brother Morning, we're going to pop up there. YouTube, you're going to find some stuff, but most of our video is actually on Patreon. So patreon.com/Good Brother Morning. And it's Instagram, Twitter. We're on Twitter at Good Bro Morning, because they don't let you have all the letters.
Yeah, sometimes they shorten you up. I got lucky. PD Skillz Show just
it was right in there.
Yeah. I don't even know that I tried just because I wanted simplicity, and it got in.
Yeah, that's perfect. As soon as you type in PD Skill, like by K, you're getting the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
That part's not too bad. So with the show, like how did it end up being the three of you guys? Like how did that mix happen?
So it was Eric and I for the first, I don't know how many.
I remember it started with you guys.
The reason Eric, I even wanted to do it with him, was I noticed with our group of friends, I always noticed it was always way funnier when the two of us were in the same room for whatever reason. But the thing is, when we had some fun with just the two of us doing the show, but I realized very quickly the reason it's always so funny is because we're both ball busters, and there's always a pecking order. And Eric and I we don't really pick on each other a whole lot. We always kind of focus our attention towards, like, say, our Jesse Bieber friend or Matt Goff, or whatever, we always have that guy in the group of friends who's like, he's taking the hits. And we needed a punching bag, and enter Joe Dog Hallam.
Fuck.
No, but Joe, he came on a couple, and Joe's he's a funny guy. I know he's
Oh,
done
100%.
stand-up comedy.
I love Joe. I've always, had nothing but good things to say about him.
Yeah, he's incredibly clever. He's quick, and if he was, as soon as he came on a few times, I already knew it's like, yeah, we should just make him a regular. We're gonna have him on like a couple times a week, and then I'm like, screw it, let's just make it 3 of us. There you go. It's easier. It's more people. Easier to promote. Everyone, 3 of us promoting it all the time.
Yeah. And it kind of made me laugh watching the evolution of you guys going through the logo, because then he just kind of appears in the sun.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I remember making that first one where he's just peeking over the sun, like, "Hey, I'm here, guys." Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you guys are going on. This was today. Well, sorry, Friday's episode would be number 80.
Yes.
So you guys are creeping up on that 100, and there's something. What is it that you guys are doing different heading into episode 100?
So, I know the week leading into it, the last 5 shows, we're going to try to line up some pretty sweet guests. I want to try to make people we haven't had on.
Mm-hmm.
So some bigger guests that we haven't had on before. And then obviously the 100th episode, it's going to be a little different. It's going to be free. We're putting everything out there every Friday. We're putting out the video for free as well. And also the bonus show is going to be on all the podcast apps. Normally we just do Monday to Thursday, and then all the Friday stuff is on Patreon. But leading up for the month leading up to it, every Friday is going to be everything free. And even the 100th episode, it'll be all 100% free. Everybody can see it. It's going to be longer. We're going to have more guests throughout the show.
It's
not unlike, yeah, we're just going to make a big deal of it and have some of our favorite guests on. And we'll also be doing, for those of you who don't know that are, if you're not paying attention to our podcast, the basketball game. Eric, Kearney, and I are going to play a basketball game on June 13th.
That is stellar. I've been listening to you guys in the last week, scrounge for punishments, and I gotta say, my favorite so far is 100% the sweaty jockstrap tee.
Yeah, that's I think we've pretty much finished up and landed on that one. So we're gonna play 1-on-1, Eric and I, 1st to 10. He took away 3-pointers. It's just going to be 1 point for every basket. So that was kind of a big part of my strategy. Was I have bad knees.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do a lot of running, a lot of layups. I didn't want to, I wanted to just be able to kind of, as soon as I got that shot from back, as soon as I get the ball at the line, I just want to step in and take the shot and nail it.
Yeah.
And then try to turn the ball over and get back to the line and do the same thing. But he took that away. So I'm still going to do that, but I'm just going to, the points are going to add up as quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the loser is going to. Okay, so the winner's going to take his underwear off, basically, the day of the game. As soon as we're done, underwear come off. They're going to go into a bag. Now they're going to ferment. They're going to stay in that bag for 2 weeks until the 25th when we do the 100th episode.
Fuck.
And then what we're going to do is take them out, put them back on. The winner's going to put them back on, and he's going to work out during the 100th episode, get them rejuvenated, wake it all up.
Reactivate it, yeah.
Yeah, reactivate those juices and get them a little damp. And then what we're going to do is we're going to throw them in a pot. We're going to boil them down, and we're going to make ourselves a nice cup of ball bag tea. And the loser is going to have to finish that entire cup of tea.
Aren't you happy that you're not going to have to taste that?
Oh, I'm super pumped. And like, I don't know if I want to tell everybody, but I don't, we're in a pandemic. I'm not trimming. I'm not doing anything down there right now. So it's a mess.
Yeah. He's getting free spices in his tea.
Oh yeah. It's going to be nasty, dude. I'm a big guy too. So like my undercarriage is just not.
I don't know. I like, and if between now and then I have him on the podcast, I'll tell him too. I'm Team Rex on this game.
The only thing I'm going to say is I know comedically it will be funnier if I lose because I will throw up if I drink that.
Yeah.
Where I know Eric is the kind of person where he will mentally just prepare himself and he will down that cup of tea in one gulp, and he will just look in the camera and say, fuck you, and just, puke later in private or whatever. But yeah,
imagine just before he drinks it, giving him the last minute buyout option. Listen, you can either drink this tea or you can PayPal Derek Wild $5.
$5. That would be interesting. You know what? I could take some money from Eric. Actually, I'll be like, yeah, give me $1,000, and we'll just call it off. Everyone.
No,
will be
you know
pissed.
what though? He'd probably rather give you $1,000 than PayPal Derek Wild the $5.
If that's the option. So yeah, if I win, I'm gonna have the underwear tee. Everything's gonna be made. I'm gonna say, all right, you got to finish it, or you can PayPal me 1,000, or PayPal Derek Wild $5. That's great. I love that.
Door A, B, and C. Now, I know you were looking for venues and all that. I mean, obviously that's another problem with the pandemic, because I mean, I've seen places that are taking, like, I've seen public parks take like their basketball hoops down and everything.
Yeah, no, there's a ton around here. Like I have one that we can use. I have a bunch around here that we can use. I made a post this week looking for a private one, just because I thought it'd be easier to shoot, like film wise. It'd be easier to film if we had somewhere kind of remote or private, or even indoor, like lighting wise, it might be better. But that was just wishful thinking. Nobody has. I was hoping there was maybe like one like guy who works at like a youth center or something who can get us inside.
And then you guys are obviously going to put the game up for people to see, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Actually, to be honest, I think that's Holden's deal, because we made a deal with Holden when we started all this, that he could film it and put it on his stuff. Okay. So he'll be probably actually the one releasing it, and we'll be sharing it through our social medias as well.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. I was thinking about this last week. He weaseled his way in. I don't know how, because he was there when he kind of helped us come up with the idea, and then he stole the rights to the basketball.
He Disney'd the fuck out of you.
Yeah, dude. Like, we're the Beatles.
Disney
He's Michael
Albright.
Jackson. Like, yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, but I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's something I definitely want to watch. You got to promise me though, like when the ball drops, it doesn't turn into a pre-taped death match.
No, I guarantee. I'm not okay. Yeah, like I'm gonna say right now, I'll be honest, it's not going to be live. Just logistically, it's too difficult to shoot this live. We want to make it as nice looking as possible.
Yeah, shooting street ball live with 1 to 2 cameras isn't a pretty thing. You just want some cut scenes. And
well, we want the whole game. Like, we're gonna film the whole game, but I want to at least have multicam so we can get a couple different shots. And then I just don't want it to be like some dude live streaming on Facebook, like all over the place. You know, I want it to look good.
World star.
Yeah. So we are going to pre-tape it, but it will be, I promise you, it will be a basketball game between Eric and I. I can't promise we're going to finish the game. There will be a winner and a loser. We both have terrible knees. We both have, a lot of injuries. So someone might get hurt before the game ends, but there will be a winner, and there will definitely be a payoff. Unlike Pretty Ricky's, promise, there will be a payoff. Somebody is going to get punished, and somebody's drinking the ball bag tea no matter what. I promise.
Now, you mentioned that the injuries, is it you just got your knee going on? Anything else going on right now? I know you said you had some shit going on before that was holding you back.
Yeah, it all depends on the day and what I'm doing. The knees are right now the worst. The left knee's really bad. It's everything. I've done MRIs, done all that stuff, and it seems like it's just arthritis. Like the doctor said, I have more arthritis than anyone like my age should have.
I understand.
Yeah. So
I was told, like, when I was in my early 20s, they told me quit roofing, quit wrestling, because at this rate you'll need knee replacements by 35, and they don't do that.
Yeah. Nah. Well, fuck, yeah. I don't know what I would do if they told me that, but you're a roofer?
I was up until I was 28. I quit roofing, but not because the doctor told me to. I did it for another 6 years after that.
You don't look like a roofer. When I think roofer, I think like, skinny as a rail, super dark tan, veiny.
Yeah, well, I mean,
like
I don't roof
veins.
now, right? Now I work a desk job shoot. So like, and people also go, oh, I didn't see that either.
Yeah. I don't know how you made the transition from roofer. Like most of the time, like the roofers that the town I grew up in, the roofers were like lifers. That's what they did.
Yeah.
And they worked super long days in the sun, and they partied at night, and they didn't sleep much.
I could fill in the blank, and you go, oh, it makes sense. I was a boss's son.
Okay. All right. So it was you're part of management kind of. You're like in
No,
the office.
actually not at all. He worked me harder than he worked anybody else and paid me less. So like by the time I got to indie wrestling, I was like, this is a fucking walk in the park.
Oh my God, dude, roofing's the worst.
You think it's bad when a promoter stiffs you? It's fucking bad when it's your family.
I helped a guy with a roof one time, and I was my weight that I am now. Like, this isn't that long ago. It's just a buddy of mine. I helped him with a job, and I like being on a roof. I was kept falling through. I didn't know where to walk, like where the beams. I kept trying to eye it up.
Especially like we're both, you know, around the same size. You got to hit the fucking rafters.
Yeah, if you don't like, and like it was cheap. Oh, it was horrible. And as soon as he put that roll of shit on, and I couldn't see anything, I had no idea. Like I was just guessing, and the whole time.
Done.
Terrifying.
Well, it gives it a little more stability at least because the elasticity in it, but
yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how you guys worked. I know nowadays you're supposed to have like all your, you know, working at height stuff on your harness, all that shit.
That's part of the reason I didn't pursue it. Like I had quit roofing with my dad and actually opened my own company and everything, like went through getting all my shit together, buying all the tools, did a couple roofs. And then I decided I wasn't going to continue because I saw how much rules were tightening up. And it actually got to the point where I was like, if you have a big enough crew, it's more dangerous to be up there with all the safety equipment.
Right.
Because like we had a crew of like 6 people. So that's 6 harnesses, which is you have your up cable, down cable. So there's 12 ropes, plus you've got 3 people nailing. So 12 ropes, 3 hoses. Like you can't do that. It's just,
that's a lot of shit to trip over.
Yeah. Like if one of us go, we're all going at that point because like we're all connected. Fuck.
Yeah, I just want to get to a point where I don't need a job anymore. I've recently started working again, well, since the pandemic. And I don't know how I ever did it before. I don't know how I'm doing it now. I don't know how people do it their whole life. Like my father, I don't know how he worked his whole life.
My dad too. I mean, up until a couple years ago, allegedly, he was still working. And I say allegedly because I think he's still working, but
he's just under the radar.
Yeah. Hiding from them divorce lawyers. But actually, with that being said, you know, talking about injuries, now crossing into not wanting to work anymore. So that's like a fair assumption on the pandemic is what you needed to say, just kidding on retiring.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. We're gonna have to wait and see. Like right now I'm so banged up. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you don't want to work. So I mean, the only way out is to either win the lottery or do what you love so you don't feel like you're working.
I know. I gotta start buying lottery tickets.
Right. I don't buy them either. Like I went through at the start of the pandemic, I went through a scratchy ticket phase.
Yeah.
And that was about it. And like I didn't really spend that much on it. I got lucky in the start and got a couple big tickets, and I was like, okay, well, these would be my like ticket fun. I'll ride these out.
Yeah, just play with your winnings.
Yeah.
I went through same thing at the beginning of the pandemic. A lot of drinking, scratch tickets. It was all cheap thrills, right? Whatever I could do in my house. It was very difficult to find entertainment, or because I'm a guy too. For years, it was wrestling shows, drinking, you know, doing drugs, partying, and then all of a sudden the pandemic hits, and I'm still kind of partying. And then I'm just kind of getting reckless and being an idiot and just
I understand. It's the same thing. I mean, sometimes I'd substitute wrestling with rap, but I mean,
you're a rapper?
I used to be, actually.
Oh shit! I didn't know this. If I would have known that on Good Brother Morning, I would have definitely forced your hand on that one. I would have had you come in prepared with a
no. So actually, this is a funny thing because it's been brought up to me in the past about people wanting me to do rap anywhere near anything that I do with wrestling, and I struggle with it.
Yeah, it's kind of like
I am okay in a studio. I am okay on a stage. For some reason, everything in between, when it comes to music, I get ridiculously uncomfortable.
That makes sense. I mean, I think it's the same. I have a couple of friends who are comedians, and I think it's similar for them too. Like, people expect them to be telling jokes and being funny. Like, oh, you're a comedian, come on, tell us a joke. It's like, well, it's not really the situation. Like, I'm not on stage. I'm not doing my thing right here. Like, I think it's too with wrestling too. Like I remember you get drunk with guys and oh, come on, let's do some wrestling stuff, do this, do that. It's like,
Yeah.
nah, man, I don't want to do it right now. Like, come on.
I've had that. Oh, that's one of the things like that sucks sometimes about drinking with your wrestling buddies is when they get too rowdy and want to do like wrestling shit when it's not fucking time for it. I've
Yeah.
even legitimately like at a fucking concert just because they're like, oh, Tim can take it and it's gonna be good for shock factor. Fucking run up behind me and hit me with a folding chair at a concert for no fucking reason, man.
Yeah, I remember being wasted with Jesse Bieber in my kitchen, teaching him how to do proper European uppercuts. And literally the drill is just going back and forth, right? Just back and forth to get the feel for it. And we're just literally killing each other with European uppercuts that wasted in my kitchen. It was,
oh man, with my fucking shoulder, I feel like my arm would fall off doing that.
It's not great, I don't think, for your joints at all.
No.
Most of wrestling isn't. It's all really, really bad for you.
Yeah.
Like, especially the bumps. That's terrible. Like
you know what? I tell people all the time when they're like, why do you do the barbed wire shit and all the hardcore shit that you do? I'm like, because to be totally honest with you, it hurts a lot fucking less.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what you're doing, right? And it's a little bit of magic, so to speak.
Oh, to an extent, like, because I mean, most of the blood I've done in recent memory has been hard way. I mean, knew it was coming, but it was hard way.
Yeah, but it's quick, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's not, even though, well, I mean, it's still not
like,
great
for
your
example,
brain.
when Tyler Hill got me with the barbed wire, like he held the crutch to my face and then just start headbutting it, and then we both were busted open.
Right. But it's those quick stabs of the barbs, right? Like, it's not like, with wrestling, I mean, like that's actually safer really for your body than doing a lot of like wrestling stuff that's going to tear up your joints and ruin your spine. And the bumps alone though, like I'm pretty good friends with a few people that probably are good cases for CT. If you, after they die, if they do some research on them, they'll find out.
No doubt. I used to be bad because I used to have a bad habit of not putting my hands up for chair shots.
That was how it was. When I started wrestling, you were a bitch if you put your hands up.
Yeah, and then I'd have a couple of the guys who were like the generation, I would say, like just before us, that would be like, oh, like make sure you put your hands up. And I'd be like, okay. And I'd come up like this and then I'd just head up.
Yeah, we used to always do.
So pissed at me afterwards. I'm like, sorry.
The first like few years I was wrestling, the way you took a chair shot was you just kind of put your head down and just take it. That was how you took a chair shot. Now, if you did that, people would be like, you're stupid. Like, what's wrong with you?
Right. That seems to be the way it is with that shit though. Like, people have different views on it, but then like AEW tried to bring it back by doing the gimmick chair.
Oh, they got the thin.
Yeah, they thinned it out, but then it went wrong. Like that was the Sean Spears, Cody Rhodes incident. Did you see that? Like when they did that?
No, I don't think I did.
Oh, it's like when like AEW first started and Sean Spears started.
Yeah, that was the first angle they did after him and Dustin, right?
Yeah, and he comes out and he swings on him and it just boom busts the back of his head open because it caught him on the back of the chair.
It was so thin and bent and caught him in the back of the head.
Yeah,
I could see that.
At that point, I'm like, just hit me with the regular chair or just buy a cheaper chair.
Yeah, I've never done a lot of weapons even in wrestling, like here and there, a gimmick or something, but never like I've a handful of like actual no holds barred type matches. I've never done like thumbtacks or anything like that. I did a light tube once when I was like 14 with my friend as a we're just like fake backyard wrestlers. We weren't like the hardcore guys.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
We seen some videos and we tried a light tube once and I cut my, I don't know if you can see, you can't really see it, but I have a huge scar here from it because I never told my parents, didn't get a stitch. And I just let it get all infected and like my shirt was like sticking to it and growing into it. Yeah. But yeah, besides that, like not for me. I don't know.
my light tube injury, I mean, people listening won't see it, but I mean, for people on YouTube, this is my light tube injury. This finger does not go bend.
Oh, okay. Just straight.
So somebody was supposed to give me like basically go up like they were going to give me a belly to back suplex and then swing me forward, chest forward through some light tubes. But they didn't push my feet out. They like held me like in an L shape.
Yeah.
So they basically went to throw me on my ass through the light tubes, and I put my hands out to protect myself. And I had actually like leather batting gloves on, but the glass went right through the glove and right through the finger.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't, glass scares me. That's
and right when it happened too, like I pulled it right out of my finger and I went like, oh, I'll never bend that again. Because it happened to my brother when he was younger, where he had a piece of glass go through his finger like that. And I'm like, oh, I know how this ends.
I didn't know. Yeah, no, my dad put my brother through some light tubes. Same exact injury. It was crazy.
So one of the things I actually kind of really wanted to talk to you about, because I've heard on a couple of occasions you can't shut up about it. These winter road tours.
Yep.
So these have been a big thing for you as far as your wrestling career. For anybody that doesn't know anything about them, tell me a little bit about it. Like, how did you get into these tours? Who's running the show? Like, what?
The first time I was supposed to do a Northern Canadian tour was it would be 2009, I think, and it was supposed to be with Ernie Todd, which is now Chris Thorne's company, CWF.
Okay.
And I got into a car accident, drunk driving, of course, all by myself, broke my femur, wasn't able to go on the tour. And then after that, I didn't go on one for 2 years. I went on the first one with Tony Condello. And that was great because Tony's like the king of the ice roads, right? He's the guy. And that was a great experience. It was 2 weeks, and it was the first time I'd ever gone out to those First Nation reserves out on the ice roads, which was like, until you go out there, it's just so eye-opening. Like, I didn't even know these places existed in Canada. Like, it's like third world country kind of look to it, right? When you get there, it's like, oh, what the hell is this?
Well, I know Bill Scullion was doing some stuff with First Nations at one point too. And I'd seen a lot of pictures from like those trips.
Yeah. So you see the houses, right? Like it's all these like trailer type homes or like shacks, right? They all got
wild dogs.
Yeah. Oh man, the res dogs. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're crazy. The res dogs are you don't want to touch them. They all got mange. And there's one town we used to go to, Shadow Extreme, actually. Shout out to Shadow. He's in the hospital right now in North Bay. He got shipped out there. He's got COVID. He's in a coma. He's not doing well, but he's a wrestler from Puckatawaga, Manitoba. But we were in his hometown, and they had a sign up in the like little grocery store. Every town's got like this store. It's usually like owned by the Northern company. It's called It's the Northwest company, but they're called Northern stores. But it's got a little bit of everything, a little bit of clothes, a little bit of lots of food, stuff like that. And they had a sign up in there that said a date and to tie up your dogs, because that day they're going around, they're going to shoot all the dogs and put them all down.
Oh, like if they're stray.
Yeah, if they're off their leash, they're killing them all, which because there's like 40 dogs running around the town, right? And sure enough, they shot all the dogs, and there it is, a big pile of fucking dogs in the, like, it was crazy, right? But they were all, a lot of them were sick with mange, and they're attracting wolves and stuff into the town. So it was
really,
like people.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Like so the mange does that.
I guess, I don't know. There's just a reason, whatever the reason was, it was like they had to put all these dogs down. But I guess that's somewhat common in some of these places because the dogs are just, they're not fixed, and they're banging and making all these other little mutts all over the place. And but yeah, so after Tony Condello's tour, it was probably a couple more years until I finally hooked up with Thorne. I'd always been around his wrestling gym, but I was always working, and I never thought I could do the tours until I kind of had like this little like quarter life crisis, and I quit my job with like benefits and everything, nice job, and I quit it, and I was like, screw it, I'm going on tour. And went with him, and then it was like 4 years straight just doing his tours nonstop. And
what's the longest tour you've been on?
Probably about 8 weeks is about the longest.
That's a good stretch. Fuck
yeah. And I kind of enjoy his more. Like the other 8-week one that I've done is like the holiday camps in England, but they're the problem with those ones is like it's a lot of work because there's some days you're doing 3 shows a day, 2 matches each show. ring up, ring down, travel, ring up, ring down, travel, ring up, ring down. Like
No,
those
thank
are,
you.
yeah, they're very tiring. Great experience, but they're very tiring. Great, like say I've said this about the tours, I'll say about the holiday camps as well. They're a place for young guys to get a lot of reps in, to figure out their footwork and get really good at wrestling and to, you know, pay their dues and stuff. Or they're for places like guys like me who never made it, need to pay their rent and need to make some money, like bang, 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 back to back. Right. And that's what I did with
the
Thorn.
bills on wrestling, like that's fine.
Yeah. Like when I was doing
It's
it with
hard
Thorn,
work, especially when you describe that regimen. That's hard work.
yeah. And I mean, you're getting paid. It's not great money, but you're getting paid anywhere between, like, I know with Thorn and with the ones over there, I'd make all my money. I'd come home every tour with multiple thousands of dollars, so I would get paid at the very end.
Yeah.
I just live off merch money while I'm out there, try to save some of that too. And then at the end, you get your big lump sum of money for all the shows you did. And then you get home, pay off all your bills, get everything ahead for a few months until the next tour, right? And then you can pick up your indie shows in between.
Yeah.
So you're living on a very basic, you know, you got to keep your nut real low and keep that overhead low. But yeah, so I did that with Thorn for like 4 years, the camps, and then pandemic hit, and that was the end of that.
Now, is being gone sometimes for up to like 2 months at a time ever a detriment as far as having a home field advantage?
Yeah, I definitely, it's hard to get booked regularly for indie companies if they can't rely on you to be there every show, because a lot of companies now, I've noticed too, they're planning, so like they're booking you almost for the year sometimes. A lot of the companies I work for, like PWR out in Erie, they would give me like 12 dates, and I'd have to tell them, like, well, I can not gonna be able to make
imagine
this.
a world where everybody wanted to do long-term booking. How could we be so lucky?
Yeah, and it's great. Yeah, if you're not doing any like traveling and not like going on any extended tours, it's great because you can fill your schedule up 3 shows a week, right? Hopefully on a and be busy all year and not have to worry about it. You can just sit back and do your promos and make your money that way. But
yeah, and that's the thing too, is I'd like to see like wrestling take a little, like independent wrestling take a little more advantage of some of the tools we've picked up, you know, during the pandemic. Like, you know, you got a guy that can't make it every show, but you want to do long-term booking, like video, like mail in those promos, like get it done. Like with IP, like with IPPVs and everything now, like you got to. It's got to become more common.
I think you're going to see some people when the indies are kind of back in full flux. I think you're going to see some people that you didn't expect to be more regularly used on shows, and just because the fact that they're creating content, guys like you or like Scumbag Yates or John Greed or whoever's like really keeping themselves relevant during the pandemic. And then because once this, I don't know if it's ever going to fully be over, but whenever it slows down and things are like kind of back to normal with wrestling shows, why wouldn't you want to be using these guys that have followings that are advertising their shows to an audience that they've already built during the whole year and a half or 2 years that we were on 100%. Lockdown?
It's be such, you know, like it's been a good tool with almost nothing to talk about. Like as far as current events, imagine how, you know, how good it's going to be when there's new, fresh stuff to talk about. And people, you know, we'll be able to start saying, hey, like, did you catch this last weekend?
Yeah.
You know,
you'll have shit to talk about. There'll be a lot more. I think they're like, for me personally, not to show my hand too much here, but like I plan on using Good Brother Morning a lot in cooperation with shows and doing the show at shows. And I think you're going to see a lot of pre-shows, maybe.
Like mine, I get you.
You're going to see, you're going to see a lot of other things that fans are going to have an opportunity to go to that aren't just wrestling matches. I think you're going to see a lot of different type of things that you can pay $5-10 to go in, sit down and watch something else with your favorite wrestlers that isn't necessarily a wrestling ring and wrestling matches.
Yeah, which would be sweet.
Yeah, it opens up a lot of venues.
I'd like to see Good Brother Morning with a live studio audience.
Yeah, I'd like to see all of us, like all the podcasts. I would love to do events like that have different live shows, right? Different live podcasts, even if it was in cooperation with other independent wrestling shows.
Yeah, the only thing that sucks is, like, I mean, with the current regulations, I can't do my thing on my show in a public venue. So
Yeah, well,
If I do my show live, even like, cause like if I do my show live, even when there's a venue, it's got to be like from the parking lot or something.
yeah.
It'll be like the PD Skillz like
Are you
tailgate
talking
show.
about like because of
It'll be a
smoke,
tailgate special.
smoke and drink? Is that why? Or
Yeah.
well, I mean, I think isn't there like some sort of entertainment thing like in certain venues, like burlesque
Oh,
type
like if
venues?
you're the entertainer, you can smoke
Yeah, like shit
because
like
it's
that.
part of the show.
Yeah, it's part of the act.
I don't know.
I'd have to look in. I think we should look into that because I think you can be.
The
I
fact
know
that
in New
I
York
don't
State
know
you can
that's
do
actually a little embarrassing.
it.
Because like if it's in there and I could have been smoking fatties in the ring since 2004, like
Yeah, I think that they might fight a little more, like
well, because
because a
we
lot of
also had the
the
OAC before, right? So there was no way I could do it.
yeah, back then definitely not. But yeah, I think it depends on the venue too. It might have to be like a concert venue or a club. It might not, like I'm sure like at like a
Yeah.
gymnasium in a sports center you're not able to, but
Yeah.
yeah, like in Lee's Palace or something you might be able to get away with it.
Well, I mean, at least Palace, like right up until I hit the curtain.
Yeah. yeah, right. I'm sure every
Yeah.
other entertainer is.
Oh yeah, 100%. That was actually Lee's Palace was going to be the closest I ever got to mixing my music with my my music with my wrestling, rather. Because one of the guys I used to make rap music with did the theme song for Stranglehold.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's when I was working heel. And because obviously we made rap music together, we go far back. I was going to come out and cut off the performance, and he'd have been comfortable enough with me to have a match.
You guys
So
could have been a tag team. You could have been like PG-13.
No. PD 13?
Yeah, PD-13. Yeah.
No way.
I met Jamie Dundee one time, and he was as crazy as I would have expected. He looks like a roofer. That's who I would expect seeing roofing is Jamie Dundee for sure.
Yeah. Oh, what's funny too is like, because even when I roofed, people like my buddies in construction be like, "Why you have such pretty hands?" I'm like, "Because I wear my fucking gloves, and when I go home, I wash them like good." Like I never had that like, "Oh, this is just weekday clean. Like I scrub them real good on the weekends."
Yeah.
No, fuck that. Every day weekend clean.
That was there was a promoter down south in Tennessee I used to work for who he told me that used to be a way they knew if they could trust you in the ring or not. When
Yeah.
they shake your hand, if your hand was real rough, it meant that you worked for a living and that
Yeah.
you didn't do this full time. So they wouldn't trust you as much. But if your hands were smooth and nice, they knew that you're a real worker, like that you were a real
Wow.
wrestler.
That could be really deceiving because like I work at a desk.
Yeah. yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe back then there wasn't too many guys working desk jobs and wrestling. Maybe it was like,
And apparently
wrestling.
not lifting fucking weights because that roughs your hands up too.
Yeah, well, they wear their fucking gloves, okay?
I wear sissy mitts too when I lift.
I don't think there was a whole lot of monsters, gym monsters down in the Smoky Mountain area back then. There's a lot of good brothers.
Yeah, definitely the case. Now, coming out of the pandemic, you said obviously not letting too much out of the bag as far as what you're doing with the show, but getting back in the ring. Any plans?
Again, I'm just kind of waiting, seeing how I feel. Right now I got I don't know, do you remember Rico Montana? Yeah, so he does like personal training and all that kind of stuff, and he made me up like a meal plan.
That's that's on the paper, new diet.
Yeah, there you go. It's nothing fancy, it's what you'd think, a lot of chicken, a lot of rice, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I got a meal plan from him, and anyone who needs help with that stuff, look up Rico Montana on Instagram.
What are the things you miss the most right now?
Oh, pizza. That's all I really ate before. Before it was like I grab a pie like every day. Like that was my meal.
Pizza's it's my go-to. I don't eat it as much as I'd like to because like I got a family in the house that doesn't let that fucking happen.
Right.
But that's probably something I'd miss a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. My girlfriend, she loves pizza. I love pizza. My kids, they come over on the weekends. So on the weekends, I'll usually do more cooking when I'm not doing my own, diet stuff. And so all week, yeah, I'd be eating shit like that. And not really cooking, not really doing that. So just getting fatter and fatter, more out of shape. And that's not obviously helping the inflammation and all that stuff. So not going to bore everybody
And
with
that's
that.
well, like I said, I have the arthritis too. And like, there was a point where I was up at like right now, I'm probably low 240s. The lowest I've been in the last decade's like 199, but like I topped out at like 260.
Yeah.
And like my knees were bad.
Yeah, like
So,
for
like,
you, I'm not sure what your height is, but like I'm probably about 5'10,
same.
5'11.
Yeah, we're
Okay,
the
so
same height.
I'm like close to 300.
Okay.
That's the heaviest I've ever been was about 305 was back when we did the fat fuck competition.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
But you
at
also
that
you
weight,
carry it different than I do.
yeah, I don't know. I'm very top heavy.
Yeah, I'm
I
very
think
like
I'm
I
big
get
back or something.
fucking I get belly heavy, and then like fucking that's about it. And then like because I already have bigger legs, but you actually like carry it in a stockier sense where it's distributed differently. Like you just look like a thicker guy.
It's weird too, because when I lost weight, like a few years ago, I lost like 60 pounds.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. Everyone's like, you look so thin. You look so, and I take my shirt off and you look at the picture of me after the weight loss. And you
Yeah.
look at the picture before, and I look exactly the same. I'm just smaller. Like I
Yeah.
just got smaller, but I held the weight all in the
Yeah,
same places. So
exactly. That's what I mean. You have a shape to like you have your own shape regardless of what weight you are.
yeah. So I don't know, man. I want to wrestle. That's what I want to do. So we're gonna see how this goes. Hopefully I can get the weight down and then see how my joints are, get in a ring, and if it's workable, do it. If my knee still feels like it's gonna tear apart every time I
Yeah.
wrestle, then I don't know.
Now you've had knee pro like how long's the knee issues been going on for probably?
Oh, since off and on throughout the last half of my wrestling career. So
Now is there things like you look at and you think, oh, these are things I can modify to make moving around easier? Like
yeah,
is there
no,
any
like
moves you found you were doing that were triggering it real bad?
that's the funny thing is like the moves you would think would be hurting it aren't hurting it. It's stupid. Like when I tore it the last time, like or whatever I did to it the last time,
Yeah.
all I was doing was I was getting up off of a front roll, just standing up, and it just pop 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 pop, and my knee was out for like 3 weeks, and I couldn't walk on it. And so yeah, it was really weird. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's arthritis or if it's maybe some gout or something. But it's like, yeah, it's just maybe genes. I don't know, man. But I think a lot of that just has to do with the weight. So it's a waiting game to see what happens. But,
well, I mean, you've got the new diet thing going on, and hopefully that gets you to where you need to be, because don't want to work for a living. It'd be great to see you just do it wrestling, obviously. See you get back to doing your tours, whatever.
yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to hire me to get coffee backstage or something at like a TV company like WWE or AEW, whatever, I don't know what they hire. I'll work in catering.
I'd fucking do that. I won't even lie. I'd do it.
I would totally work in catering.
That
would be a great job, just to be on the road. That's all I care about.
Imagine that. Be like, yeah, I got hired by WWE, but I actually stay in catering on purpose.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is where I asked to be.
I would tell everyone I got signed. Oh, really? When are you going to be on? Like,
yeah, I got signed by WWE.
Catering.
I'm
working with the seamstresses.
And then, like, I would just literally every time I see a fucking WWE worker say something bitter about catering, I'd be like, "Yo, I resemble that remark. Can you fucking change your attitude? Some of us want to be here."
You're just shitting on the talent.
Yeah.
And even though I'm working in catering, I'm still always near like Gorilla, just hanging out, like hoping something happens where they need somebody. Like the extras are all waiting for their spots, and I'm just with my little Chef Boyardee hat on, like.
Yeah, can you imagine how offended the people that actually work catering have to be? Like, yo, you're getting paid fucking $250,000 to $500,000 a year, to fucking eat this food and pound your fucking pud. I'm getting paid $25,000 to fucking make it and serve it to you, prick.
Yeah, man. I think the smartest guy in Ontario was Hornet because he just committed to being a referee. And it was like, yeah, that's
100%. And he's killing it.
Yeah, he's like the top referee on what is NXT, right?
Yeah, I enjoy him. And I don't know if anybody else, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one. There's times where I will watch a match twice just to watch the ref.
Yeah.
I found myself doing that. Like, obviously with guys like Red Shoes, like I've had to do that where like some of them are just comical. And then from Ontario, I used to like watching AJ Parr.
I'm not familiar with him.
And well, you know JC?
JC. Oh, yeah.
Jay Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to travel a lot with Jay. So they were buddies. They used to travel a lot together. And I used to love watching them, especially even if I watched my own match, I'd watch a second time. Wouldn't even see myself. I just watch them because the way they like react and sell everything was just beauty.
Yeah, I feel like I'd be a shitty referee too, just because of that. Like I'd just end up watching the match. Like I'd just be sitting there.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what's funny too is like when I watch a wrestling show, and Ontario Indie is littered with shitty refs. We have some really good ones, but I mean we're also littered with shitty refs. And like I sit there and I watch it and I'm like, oh, like how bad could it have been to pick almost anybody else? I'm like, I know but I'm like, I don't think I'd necessarily do a good job, but that's fucking terrible.
Yeah. There are some people in wrestling, like we were talking about that recently on the show, like about ring announcers or music guys or whatever that they just get from like another place. Like I know we were talking about Joey got bumped as the ring announcer for like a guy that worked at Walmart. And everyone in town knew him because he worked at Walmart. So he was the ring announcer for the main event. And it's like, yeah, we're just going to get this guy here that does, price checks at Walmart because he's got a pretty good, nice voice. We heard him over there. And
wow. That's ridiculous. Bump for the Walmart guy.
That's it. Moral of the story is it doesn't matter, folks. You can be in wrestling if you want to be in. Everyone's invited now. So yeah, if you want a job, come on.
The next wrestler coming down aisle 1, covered in the baby oil from aisle 37.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever see that video of the guys wrestling in Walmart?
It's fucking hilarious. They do I've seen them do bathrooms and through a Walmart.
No, those guys, but I'm talking about there was a wrestling show in Walmart. They got the ring in there and everything.
Oh, no.
Like that was their venue. They were doing a show live in a Walmart that was active. Like people.
No, you'll have to link that to me after.
I'll look it up. Yeah, crazy, man. Like, and they were terrible. Like just the worst wrestling.
Well, actually, I'm sure I can Google wrestling in Walmart.
It was the most American indie thing I could think of. Like just wrestling in the Walmart, man. Like.
So yeah, and I get what you mean by American indie because like I live on a border city and like I've wrestled both sides of the border and it's completely different.
Yeah. There's it's like the Wild West in the States. It's and there's so many people.
And I've seen some good, seen some bad.
Yeah. The same could be said for here, but I think here it's more of a tight-knit community. Yeah. Just because it's, we don't have the population, so everyone knows each other. Where in the States, it's just like you go 3 hours one direction, it's a different scene. Like,
no, it's not even that. I think one thing with Ontario, it's almost bad to speak your mind sometimes because if you have a bad opinion about something, you're an asshole, and then everybody thinks you're a fucking bully, and now like everybody's like, "Fuck you, cancel this guy, don't book him."
Wow, that's the world we live in now. I mean, I
don't even mean with accusations and allegations. I just mean for like what people, like for what people straight up say. Like they're like,
I get worried with that with the podcast all the time because we see some ridiculously horrible shit. Yeah. And I know for a fact if we had a bigger audience, we would definitely be getting more flack. Once in a while, we'll get a message or an email or something. But
I mean, if you ever want that championship designed, I know a guy that's designed a belt before.
Yeah. I would love that, actually. I would hang that in my house. I would I don't know if the league's going to take off, but I mean, it could be my XFL.
Could you imagine hanging that above the bed? That's intimidating.
It'd be more intimidating if I was single and bringing women home. And
Yeah.
they see that over my bed.
Yeah. You're like, the champ is here.
I just lock the door at the same time.
Yeah. Fuck.
It's like a cage match. She has to escape to win.
That's a fuck. Oh, that's terrible.
That's fucked up.
Fuck. You know what? Screw it. I'll go the different direction than I normally do on the show, because there's actually, I was telling somebody about the heavy rape championship of the world segments. And it's my buddy Chad, Chris Holler, who used to book Windsor promotion called Sin City Wrestling, which was operating kind of like almost like a baby fed for BCW at the time. It was using some of like Scott Demore's students and stuff like that. And the promoters had a close working relation with Scott. And obviously Sin City Wrestling, they wanted to do some more borderline stuff. And I think it got brought up to Rip Impact at some point. It never actually got pitched to him as a legitimate idea because it never got the chance to take off. But the promoter and me had several discussions about the character of Rape Impact. So basically a big heel turn where like he was just continuously like, Rip Impact, good guy, nice to everybody, and then just kept getting shit on, taking L's, and then Rape Impact. But this was literally over a decade ago. Like now it wouldn't even be thought about. Like this is the same guy I'm talking about. He actually pitched to a guy that was from Michigan. He was like, man, you should, like, this is again over 10 years ago. You'll know where I'm going with it when I preface it with this. Before Eugene.
Okay.
So before Eugene, he actually said to this guy, he's like, man,
you never go full. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He says you should do a gimmick where you're mentally handicapped up until the point where that bell rings, and then you're an absolute stud in the ring. And he was like, no, I don't know. That's no one, you can't get that over that. And then literally months, not even too many later, Eugene debuts, and he's like, I had something. I'm like, no, man, it's not that you had something. Like, it's just that now you're getting the opportunity to watch in slow motion why it was a bad idea.
Yeah, that's the Eugene character. I was thinking about that recently. Is like, it's like Chris Benoit. Everyone knows they scrubbed from all their stuff, but like Eugene's like the thing they're quietly not talking about. Mm-hmm. It's like it was, it's almost to the point where it's like, did that happen? I don't know if that actually happened. Did I just make that up? Did I dream that? Because they never talk about it. You never hear anything about Nick Dinsmore anymore. And it's now I feel like it's just a ticking time bomb until that blows up and they're like, wait, they did what? Like,
there's so much stuff, but I mean, Peacock's going through all that and they're sorting through it. Like a lot of it's going to get tossed to the side.
Yeah. I think the thing that saved him was how well he did it. Like it was so real that like even the viewers, like it was kind of kayfabe, like, oh no, he really is, but he's not. Try to do that now. Like it just would not fly at all. They can't even bring him back. They can't bring the Eugene character back, can they?
No,
I don't.
They did like for a short stint after his initial run. When he came back, he had like kind of a superhero like type look to him. Like,
right.
Yeah, instead of his traditional tights, he had like the long tights with just like the red underwear style over the blue like long gear.
Yeah, and I guess they never called him anything, right? So it was like suggested. It was what you what do you perceive him to be?
Heavily suggested.
Yeah, maybe that's the way you get around that.
I don't know.
That's what I say when I do accents.
At the same time, it's a character. I think wrestling takes too much flack for something that's supposed to be entertainment.
Yeah, I guess so. It's I'm trying to think, like, because it happens in movies too, right? Like movie stars play
Yeah.
mentally disabled people, or they play like
Or play
Robert Downey
racist.
Jr. Robert Downey Jr. did blackface in that one movie, Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
Again,
Did
I think he got away with
of
that.
whiteface doing blackface doing like.
Also, that's the same movie where I was doing the quota that you never go full R word.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about that, and I didn't even realize how ironic it was, as at the time I watched the movie, I thought it was hilarious, but I never even realized how ironic it was that he was telling him, "You never go full R word." Meanwhile, he's going full blackface.
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so you're going one way, but I'm not going this way. And but like I said, that's like wrestling takes a lot more flack from an entertainment standpoint, where people want to treat it, not legitimately, but then want it to follow the same guidelines as legitimate sports. Like, did you see the stuff floating around online about the Booker T A&E special?
No, I watched the special, but I didn't see anything online.
Yeah, people said stuff about like his parts getting cut out, like them talking about like racial undertones or something like that, leading up to his main event with Triple H.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, all the promos were like Triple H is like, people like you don't get to beat people like me and all that.
Oh shit, yeah, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, so I mean, it had a lot of racial undertones. They never really said anything direct, but I mean, obviously heavily hinted at, and a lot of people criticized it. And to me, I'm like, I get why that's wrong, but this is also entertainment. Why can't we display that that's wrong? Yes,
but it's
we're
also
putting that out there. You're supposed to hate that.
It's also extremely relatable for a huge section of their audience that wants to see someone that represents them winning and beating that guy who is doesn't respect them because of the color of their skin.
I mean, don't get me wrong, you got to know your audience, because I mean, I'm sure there are some cities and some states and some provinces where if somebody delivers those kind of lines and that kind of verbiage, might get a pop instead of a boo, and you don't want to put that out there either. That's where I think it's kind of tough.
You definitely wouldn't want to do that with, say, Stone Cold and Booker T in his heyday. But no, I think, and they did the same thing with Austin and Vince with, their main audience was a bunch of blue collar white people. Was their audience, so they had the redneck dude beating up his boss because it was super relatable. So
absolutely.
Fast forward to Booker T, Triple H, I think it's, and that if I remember correctly, that was a time when they really were trying to build that demographic. They were trying to get an African American audience. They were building that, and that makes perfect sense that they would do that. I don't see why there's anything wrong with that. Triple H is the bad guy. He's supposed to be.
But then they're like, no, you can't. And that's what I mean. It was, and for you, like I said, for you to have seen the special, obviously they didn't include it, but to never look back at it that way is how low level they did it at.
Yeah.
Like it's not like he said anything over the top.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, it wasn't like Vince McMahon backstage with John Cena. Like,
yeah, I remember them doing that kind of with, I think it was either it was Orton and either Shelton or Kofi. I want to say Shelton's. I think it was before Kofi's time, but I remember them kind of hinting towards that too. A little bit of the race stuff, and it was off TV the next week. Like they just switched it up. They didn't do it anymore.
I've done the sexist thing. I did a stint of that for wrestling, but like that's probably about as far, like storyline wise, I've pushed it. Yeah.
And that one you almost I feel like nowadays if you do that too, it's almost
cliche,
but it's you almost have to make it a joke. Like where everyone knows you're doing a character. You know what I mean? Your character's so outlandish and so ridiculous that they know you're putting it on to get heat. Like they just know, oh, this is the part where we boo because he's being obviously rude, and politically incorrect.
Unless you've got a chick that's a total badass and a dude that, or if you got a dude that just has fucking mega heat that can pull it off.
Yeah, I think if any dude did it too well, and it just rolled off the tongue too easily, then that would be a problem.
Yeah, but you know what? That's good TV.
I agree. Just who's going to air it? That's the
Like,
problem.
because
Stupid advertising
like you see
money.
where they're like, oh, like, you know, the jokes, like you said, where they come at it lightly, where they're like, oh, you know, she's not gonna beat me. She's just little. I'm big. I'm strong. She's weak. Blah blah blah. Back and forth. I just want to, for once, when one of those gimmicks, you know, where there's like, I'm gonna beat this bitch's ass, and I want to believe it when I watch it. I like, this Sunday, he's coming to whoop her ass.
Well, but see, I think that's more. I think even that idea that you just had right there is more, what's the word? Appropriate. Like it's you're actually putting her on your like, you're treating her like you would a man.
Equal.
Yeah. So that's actually more, I think, with the times of wrestling, is to treat her straight up like, yo, I'm gonna fight you, dude. Like, we're going at it. Whereas it's different if you're like, yo, there's not a chick that can legitimately beat me anywhere. Like, and I don't know, maybe there isn't, maybe there is, but the generalizing all of them as one thing is, I think, where the problem comes in. So like, if you're to do the Andy Kaufman thing now, but again, that's over the top too, so it might be perceived,
but that's always
comedy.
got the payoff where it starts with the, you know, clearly they can't beat you, and then obviously the clear payoff is, here comes the girl that can.
But that's the thing, you're going to get all the heat. You're never going to get to the payoff, because after 2 or 3 squash matches, you're going to have everyone at your doorstep saying, what the fuck, you know, this is wrong, you can't, you know. But it's just like, no, wait, guys, it's going to be okay. I'm going to get my ass kicked soon, just wait for it. Like, it's coming.
I used to get in shit for like things said, but nothing like too bad. Like, usually it was talking shit to families.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like when the kid would chirp, and then, you know, chirp back at the parents, like talk shit to them, like, you know, this is how you raise your kids and all that. Like, I'm like, you kiss your mother with that mouth, well, guess what she does with it.
Yeah.
And shit like that. Like, I'd say some foul stuff, and like, thank God it was always meant with humor, I guess.
Yeah, you get it depends what you say. And you get some parents that know it's a gimmick, but like, once I had kids, things changed a little bit for me too, because I used to be in kids' phases and doing things and like trying to get heat, and then fathers would get upset, right? Get away from my kid. And then there were certain things I see now as a father. Now I see certain things and I'm like, dude, that's not cool. Like, I remember one time Holden Albright like broke a kid's toy. Like, he took the kid's toy and bit its head off or something. Like an action figure. And I was thinking, dude, if I wasn't a wrestler and I was at a show and this dude took my kid's toy, his favorite toy, and bit its head off, and I don't know if I can get that.
That doesn't seem like something he'd do. Was it a plant?
I hope so, because if that were me and I was just a guy at a show and I didn't know anything about wrestling, I might be fighting, man. Like, I don't know if I can get that action figure again. Like, we got that from 2 years ago. Like, dude, what the fuck? Like, that stuff like that. I don't know. I try to stay away now. I don't get too close to the crowd at all anymore. I try to keep my distance as much as possible and try to keep the mystique a little bit. And even the Al Snow thing of just coming out of the entrance, getting in the ring, not walking around, slapping hands, letting them size me up, like, just get in the ring, look big. And
because you're right away standing up above them.
Create the illusion. But
actually, I've never caught that from him.
That was an old thing he used to always say when we had him in for a few things, and that was one of his things that he was big on, was don't walk around, don't do the indie walk around the ring and talk to everybody, just get in the ring. Do all your stuff from in the ring. That's where the show is. You're on a show.
And where I'm actually kind of the other way around, because I'm like, I want to walk around the crowd, like, I'm just like you guys.
Well, it's very most indie shows are very intimate, right? So it's a different kind of feel, but you can separate yourself, I think, by doing that.
It just would be like, for me, like, I find I've been doing the same thing forever, where it's just been, I'm my character is really myself. I'm a regular dude. I'm just like them. This is Burnout that wrestles, right? So it's like, I like doing that walk around where it's like, hey, what up?
Do you ever find that works against you, or no? It always works out pretty well with the shows that you're
well, I mean, the people that book me know what they're booking me for, and the people who don't like it probably just haven't booked me. So, I mean,
The only reason I ask is I know like on some of the First Nation shows we did, there was a lot of times we'd have like Shadow or his cousin Tony, native guys on the show. And a lot of times they had a hard time getting over because the crowd looked at them as one of them and not as a star or not as something different.
Yeah.
So if a white dude came out with really nice tights and he wasn't from that town or definitely wasn't from a First Nation reserve, or like a big jacked up like black dude or something that's something so exotic to them, something they don't see. It was like very, very, we were all stars, and then they'd be standing and the kids would kind of like treat them almost like, oh, these guys are just one of us, right? Like,
but you got to set yourself apart at that point. You have to do something to say, hey, I am one of you. But like for me, it was like, yeah, okay, I'm under 6 foot. I'm this short, chubby guy, burnout, just like you.
right.
I can do a moonsault though.
It's like the Spike Dudley effect too. Like,
yeah,
I don't think anyone like Spike could do whatever he wants because he's Spike, and that's his whole gimmick, is being kind of an average dude who is,
I actually had a lot of times where, like, for example, when I wrestled Derek Wilde, I believe I was billed as being lighter than him, even though I was heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's pushing his up and you're pushing your weight down.
Well, yeah, only because I would compete at that style and and I'd shift that. And like, honestly, the way he looked then, he looked believably like he weighed more than me.
Yeah. There's times also with my weight, because I'm not a tall guy,
Mm-hmm.
I will actually make my weight my actual weight instead of going like, 'cause a lot of people will be like, how much do you weigh? And I legit, like, I'll weigh like 290, right?
Yeah.
And so promoter would want to say, well, yeah, we're gonna say you're 320. And it's like, well, no, because
I'm not a
to people, I
believable
don't
320.
yeah, like in the ring or even wherever, like I don't look like a 320 guy. Like a 320
I
guy
don't
you think
even
is
look
a
the
monster.
fucking it's like I don't look the 290 I am, so fuck, why would I be 320?
That's it. Yeah. So a lot of times it's worked. Like, it works again. Unless if I'm wrestling someone smaller, then it can work. Which I love, by the way. I love it, makes me look like a monster. I love doing the bearded bull gimmick with the mask and everything because I look like a monster. But then I realized very quickly that like on TV, I wouldn't be that monster because everyone's like, you got a Braun Strowman. And it's like, yeah, I'm nowhere near that.
I haven't wrestled somebody smaller than me, I would say, like in a one-on-one match, since probably before 2010.
Wow. That's almost exclusively what I do. Is wrestle smaller. Yeah. I enjoy it.
I've wrestled guys like Matt Cash size, which is similar to me. Tyler Hill, which like he's different frame,
right? But similar,
overall similar package, like as far as weight weight goes. And then just guys in general, all of them my size. Mark Shaw, he's another one. My size or bigger.
Yeah, I like working smaller guys. The only problem I have is sometimes I don't work like I'm that much bigger than them. So sometimes I'll realize something. I remember Reese Greenaway saying that one time when I think I took a clothesline from my buddy Liam Carr, and he's much taller than me, but he's very skinny, very lanky.
Yeah,
and
I know what you're talking about.
I remember Reese is coming to the back and he's like, "Oh, great match!" Right? And he's like, "But as soon as he hit you with that clothesline, man, I just couldn't buy it." And I looked at him and I looked at I looked, and I was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I looked at the back of the video. I was like, yeah, I shouldn't be bumping on that. Like from a guy that's just clearly so much skinnier than I am.
Yeah.
I
learned my lesson bumping like a little guy. That's how I got my, like, couple of years back, I got my like actual legitimate first wrestling injury. And when I separated my shoulder.
You separated your shoulder on a bump?
Yeah, I did it. So I was wrestling Carew, and he was coming to give me a big ass clothesline, and I was going to do the inside out bump. Well, I hadn't did the inside out bump in a while. I did it earlier in the night, slow motion. It was fine. I'm like, oh yeah, I can still do this. And I want to make him look like big, because he's not really that much weight wise bigger than me, but on camera, he looks like a
very big
monster next to me. And it's when I was like closer to 200. So I was believably smaller. So I went to do the inside out bump, and I just didn't rotate enough. Like, I almost went more moonsault before I went tuck and roll.
Yeah.
And landed right on my shoulder, third degree separation, which is basically the worst you can do.
Oh man.
Yeah, like it still clicks and grinds, and it probably didn't heal properly. But
I bet you the bump looks sick though.
oh, it looks bad. It looks bad. And I had buddies at the show that they were like, at first they were like, "Oh my god, like Tim's doing a real good job selling." And one guy's like, "Yeah, not to be a dick, but I've seen enough of his work that I don't think he sells that good."
Yeah.
And like it was bad because like it's my good arm, like in the finish of the match, and I was determined because like it happened literally in the first minute and a half of the match.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I was like, "Fuck it, we're doing the whole match."
Were you dead arm the whole time?
No, I mean, one of the benefits to being the high wrestler is you get a couple extra kilometers on the tank when you get hurt. So like I still made it up to the top rope, dropped my elbow for the finish, and that's the thing is I went backstage and Dukes was like as soon as I went backstage and people saw me, they're like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I either broke my collarbone or I separated my shoulder." And Dukes was like, "No, there's no way. Like you wouldn't be moving like you're moving if that was the case." And I'm like, "No, man." Like, and I didn't want to be like, "Oh yeah, no, I got good pain tolerance. Trust me." But that was the case. But like, it wasn't the time and the place. I was more concerned about it getting taken care of. It wasn't until I didn't come outside at intermission to smoke a joint that my buddies were like, "Holy fuck, he wasn't selling."
He's that's the best sell. You don't smoke a joint.
Yeah.
Hey, do you ever get heat for that with any workers?
No.
No way. Because I know, like, out of my friends, I know who's capable of smoking and being normal because they smoke, they have a good tolerance, and it's just day-to-day life for them.
Yeah.
And then like my other buddy, like for instance, like Jesse Bieber, he can't wrestle high. Like he smokes a joint, he's gone, right? Like he's just like same with me. I'm a lightweight when it comes to weed as well. If I take 3 puffs of a joint, I'm too high to wrestle. But I always wondered that with certain guys who who can get away with it, who can't, kind of thing. Same with, like, I used to get heat a lot of times. I'd like to have a beer before a match, not beers, not getting wasted, but just something to get me a little loose or whatever. And that would definitely get me heat.
Mine used to be a couple shots just to thin the blood up.
Right. Well, yeah, if you're gonna gig, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I always wondered that if it gets the same kind of rap as like drinking before a match.
Yeah, so a lot of people, like, they know the deal, and some of them, like, I mean, especially when it comes to the hardcore crew, a lot of them are usually also participating. I mean, we know, like, if you're a regular smoker, it's just like anything, like it's an everyday thing. You could be high functioning.
But you know how some people are, right? Like some people who never smoke weed, they just look at weed and they just look at it like it's fucking cocaine, or like it's like.
I've never taken any heat for it, only because I've proactively picked and choosed when I thought it was appropriate to do so. Like when I first started, I was wrestling a lot of guys that I already knew or that were comfortable with me and knew that I was fine. But then, like, when I started, like the first time I wrestled Diener, I was like, okay, sober Sunday, baby.
Yep, definitely. He would not go for that.
And
I was just gonna say, guys like that, like Diener, Dukes, or definitely not type of guys you want to smoke a joint in front of before you go out.
And I mean, that was fine. Like, and it's not like I'm a fucking addict, so I can manage. Right. I still love wrestling more than I love that. Sorry to say. But and then, like, another one that I was probably going to be one of my more high pace matches was when I wrestled Derek Wild. And like, whatever gets said now, I don't know or give a shit, but back then, like, he was a big deal.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, like, I'm gonna make sure another, this was a Saturday show, so sober Saturday until at least until after the match. And we're planning the match, and I could tell he's not giving me a lot. He's not giving himself a lot either. He's trying to plan a real simple match in a bar where I'm like the hardcore champion at that time. And I'm like, something's not adding up. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, Wild doesn't trust me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, man, like, listen. And I gave it to him straight. I was a little Mark at the time. I was like, I've literally watched you wrestle since I was a kid. Like, you're hitting me with some of your shit. like you're getting your shit in. Like you're doing the sky drill press, all that, and blah blah blah. So we replaying the whole match, and he's like, okay, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. And then he actually goes, he's like, hey, are you high? And I'm like, because I told him, I'm like, I want the full, like at the time, I want the Derek Wild experience.
Mhm.
And he's like, are you high? And I'm like, no. And he's like, are you usually? And I'm like, well, yeah. And he's like, well, then you should probably go get high.
Really?
Yeah.
I would not expect that from him. I
Yeah.
thought for sure he would be the guy that's like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
and it was funny too when I caught him for the sky drill press, because like it was like a last second, like because I was going out onto the floor, so I didn't want it to be a big catch and bump because that hurts. I want it to be a nice boom, bump, bump.
Yeah.
And I literally caught him at the last second, and he looks down, and he's like, "You scared the shit out of me." Like I told you, I got you.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. No, I hate being in that position. I remember that a lot when I was younger, working with certain people, and just not. You could tell right away that they just didn't respect you or didn't know you and trust you enough to do. And you're a fan of theirs. That's the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah. And that sucks. And they say don't beat your heroes. I mean, Derek Wild's by no legend or by no means my hero, like a hero, but like he was a guy that like when I watched growing up, I was like, that dude's sick.
Yeah, man. I remember like I was a huge Derek Wild fan before I started wrestling. I grew up in the Niagara region, and they had Neo Spirit, and that was where we went. That's where we watched wrestling every. That was the only indie wrestling I knew that existed.
My favorites were Dukes and Tornado.
Yeah. Tornado's he's still great, man. I like watching him wrestle once in a while. I used to work for Rock Solid. He's gotten so much, he was always great, but just with age, it's just like he ages like wine, man. Just gets better and better.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, we can have a little bit of that luck ourselves when restrictions lift, we can come out smelling like fine wines.
Yeah, we'll see.
But with that being said, I mean, for the people who lasted way past the 10-minute mark, hit them up with those plugs again. And I mean, it's not plugs and beat it; it's just plugs.
Fuck, pretty Ricky. Yeah, Instagram at What You Talking Boot, or check out the show Instagram at Good Brother Morning. You can find it on Twitter at Good Bro Morning, patreon.com/Good Brother Morning, Facebook. Just look us up. You can find us on there, myself as well. And yeah. That's it, man.
And as always, you can find me at PD Skillz Show, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Make sure you hit me up if you want to grab one of them PD Skillz shirts or one of the No Ring North shirts that are also for sale. Support our dirty habit of beating the shit out of each other. Until next time, I'm PD Skillz with Rex the Boot Atkins, and this is the PD Skillz Show. We are out.